massive howitzer artillery shells and fire them off. So she still has her hearing, though, somehow, amazingly. And I said that at one of our previous press conferences, and she ran off. She was worried that I might have got the weight of the howitzer shells wrong. It turned out I did. They're not 100 pounds, they're 103 pounds. So if she can carry that kind of weight, then she can definitely represent the great people of Nepean. And it is great to be back here. Nepean, a great place to be in, as I like to say. As you know, Barbara served in the Royal Canadian Artillery for a decade and has worked for over many years, in the 25 years actually, as a member of the police service, mostly here in Ottawa. She is a very strong voice, and her major focus has been on making life affordable and safe again in Nepean. I was just talking to Barbara outside, and I said, what are people saying at the doors? And many are saying they can barely hang on. Interest rates on their very high mortgages are really pinching their families, budgets threatening their ability to stay in their homes. Liberal inflation has driven up food 37% faster in Canada than in the US. The Liberal housing crisis has doubled the cost of owning a home and renting one. And people are saying they can't afford a fourth term of Liberals under Mr. Carney and the same Liberal MPs, ministers, and strategists who gave us the lost Liberal decade. Yet Mark Carney is in hiding today and yesterday. He was trying to make Canadians forget that the government for which he was the economic advisor doubled housing costs, doubled lineups at food banks, doubled our national debt, sent $500 billion pouring out of our country, that for the first time in our history, after a decade of Liberals, our youth can't afford homes or start families. He's trying to make Canadians forget that crime is raging out of control. And he's hiding from questions about his own multi-million-dollar conflicts of interest that he does not want to disclose, even though he admits that he has them. That is more evidence that we need change. We need change to make your life affordable again, change to make your streets safe, change to strengthen our economy so that we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to the Americans and any other foreign economies that seek to threaten us. That's why I'm so excited to have a team that will bring that change. We have Greg Kung from Canada, Blair Turner from Ottawa South, Dean Wyth from Vanier, Steve Mansour from Orleans, Paul Ossonen from Ottawa Centre, 35-year veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces himself. We're also joined by the folks from Valor Guard Protection, a veteran-owned business that is giving civilian jobs to veterans in the field of private security. These brilliant and brave men and women have kept Canadians safe in our military, and now they keep businesses and other places safe from threats here at home. Before I get into addressing the policy at hand, let me just say that we need strong leadership to deliver the change that Canadians need in these challenging times. The change that I'm talking about will mean that Canadians will be able to live in safe neighborhoods again because we'll lock up criminals, that they'll be able to bring home more of their paycheck because we will cut their taxes, that they will get more and better tools at work because we're going to unleash more investment by allowing capital gains taxes to be reinvested with no tax as long as they're reinvested here in Canada. They'll be able to afford homes as we axe the federal sales tax on housing, and we incentivize municipalities to lower their development taxes to save $100,000 a home. But no one deserves the Canadian promise more than our brave veterans who defended it in the first place. Canadians owe everything to our veterans. Their sacrifices have made it possible for us to live in one of the freest and safest countries in the world. The veterans that have sacrificed so much to defend our country deserve to have all of us championing them. They put everything aside so future generations can enjoy the same peace and security we enjoy today. In return for that sacrifice, Canada's veterans deserve a government that fights for them. That's a core part of the Canadian promise. But after the lost Liberal decade, the government has failed our veterans. Too often, they face bureaucratic roadblocks that prevent them from accessing their benefits or earning a living. Time and again, the Liberals have promised to stand by our veterans, but have let them down. Despite promising the veterans would never have to fight their own government in court, that's exactly what the Liberals continue to do. En tant que Canadiens,
as Canadians, we owe everything to our veterans. Thanks to their sacrifices, and really it's thanks to their sacrifices that we are able to live now. They have sacrificed everything for our country, and they come from all backgrounds. They have set everything aside in order to defend future generations. In recognition of their sacrifices, veterans in Canada deserve a government that fights for them. This is a critical part of the Canadian promise. But after the lost Liberal decade, the government has abandoned our veterans. Too often, they find themselves facing bureaucratic obstacles, preventing them from receiving the benefits that they are owed. On many occasions, the Liberals have said they would support our veterans, but they simply abandoned them, even though they promised that veterans would never have to go to court to fight for their own benefits. But that is exactly what the government has forced veterans to do.
When our veterans said that they needed help and they needed the benefits that they had earned, Justin Trudeau said famously that they were asking more than we are able to give right now, right after handing millions of dollars to a convicted terrorist. The Liberals also promised to bring back lifelong pensions for injured veterans, but they broke that promise too. They pledged to make it easier for veterans to access services. Yet under the Liberals, veterans were left stranded as the number of case managers was cut and the number of veterans waiting for disability benefits exploded. Today, I'm announcing that my Conservative government will put veterans first for a change. As Prime Minister, I will ensure veterans' benefits are in place before they leave the military and will automatically approve disability applications if they are not treated within 16 weeks. We will give veterans full control of their medical records. We will let military doctors assess injuries using one standardized system and ensure PTSD service dogs are available to veterans who need them with consistent national standards for support. We will also let them access education and training benefits to immediately kick in right on the release date, without unnecessary delays that push back the ability of young veterans to get trained up for a new job. Just as the last Conservative government did, we will support the Helmets to Hard Hats program, allowing veterans to go from service in the military to service in the civilian economy, fixing up big machines like this one, for which they would already have lots of experience working on heavy machinery in the forces. We will add spouses of veterans and Canadian Armed Forces members who want work with the Canadian government to the Veterans Hiring Act. And speaking of that, we will expand the veterans hiring preference so that we double the number of public service jobs that are preferred for veterans. We'll also prefer veteran-owned businesses for federal contracts. We're going to double the number of veterans that are hired every year working in government positions so that they can take their precious military experience and use it to deliver across all government services, but in particular in the Veterans Affairs Department. And for our veterans leaving the military for good jobs in the private sector, we will provide you with the documentation you need to have your skills recognized. I want to work with the Red Seal Council, which is the national licensing body for the trades, to find a way to get recognition for trades-related work that military members have done in the forces. So if you've worked on heavy machinery in the forces, we should be giving you hours recognition when you come out so that you have a shorter time span to get your Red Seal license in a similar trade. We should ensure that colleges and polytechnics also provide recognition for the military skill sets that people pick up. So when I was a Minister of Employment, we partnered with BCIT, the trade school in that province, to get course recognition for military experience. So if you had a background in leadership in the military, well, you shouldn't have to take a bunch of entry-level courses on leadership when you go to BCIT or another educational institute. We will do pilot projects that encourage universities, colleges, polytechnics, training halls to give credit for things already learned, so that there's a shorter training time that launches our brilliant veterans from a career in the military into a high-paying job in the private sector. We're also going to work to make sure that military veterans get the support they deserve. Our government will guarantee that you will keep more of what you earn. So right now, we're punishing the work of veterans. A veteran comes out, they're on a military pension. They get a job, they immediately start triggering clawbacks. So the government says, well, you don't need that support payment anymore because you've got your own job. Well, the job should be giving them extra income. It shouldn't be a replacement income. Why would we want to punish a veteran who's maybe 45 years old and goes out into the private sector and offers something to our economy? They should get more money. So we're going to review and reduce the military clawbacks for earned income to allow the veterans to have a big, powerful paycheck. I want them to bring home more money. They earned their pension, and now they're earning an income. One should stack on top of the other. We shouldn't replace one with the other. We're going to make hard work pay off for all Canadians, but it should be especially rewarding for our veterans. We will also recognize the veteran service cards as valid government ID nationwide. We will complete a national monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan. It's really incredible. You know, the beginning of this century saw Canadians go over to literally the most dangerous place in the world. And pound for pound, other than maybe the British and the Americans, maybe, there's no one that did more than the Canadians to defeat the Taliban and crush al-Qaeda in the aftermath of 9/11. Our young people went there, they faced IEDs and some of the most brutal opponents on the battlefield, and there's still no completed national monument. This is outrageous. You know, this is, it's been 15, 20 years, and these people who gave so much, they deserve to be recognized, and they need a place to go to express themselves and to live out their memories and really experience the gratitude that we should all have for the enormous courage that they showed. We will also officially recognize Persian War veterans, Persian Gulf War veterans, and their wartime service. After the lost Liberal decade, Canada's veterans can't afford a fourth Liberal term of disrespect and broken promise. Nos anciens combattants méritent mieux.
Our veterans deserve more. They fought for us. It is time that the government fight for them. Today, I am announcing that a Conservative government will put veterans first for a change. As Prime Minister, I will ensure that veterans' benefits are in place before they are released from the Canadian Armed Forces, and I will automatically approve benefit applications that are not dealt with in 16 weeks. We will also provide veterans the ability to control their medical file. We will allow veterans, we will allow military physicians to conduct an assessment based on a standardized system and ensure that dogs are available, PTSD dogs are available to those veterans who require them, with a consistent standard to support them. We will allow them to access the training allocation as soon as they have received the date of their release. No waiting time. They can begin right away to learn a new skill or to prepare for a different job. But we won't stop there. A new Conservative government will give priority to veterans for jobs in the public service, give give preference to those businesses belonging to veterans to receive contracts more easily. We will double the target for the number of veterans working at the department, and we will ensure that they can keep their security clearance if they need it for a new job. We will also add spouses of veterans and members of the Canadian Armed Forces who wish to work for the Canadian government to the Veterans Hiring Act. I believe that spouses of veterans have special knowledge, particularly by providing services to military families, because they are very familiar with what it's like to be a military family, and we need that knowledge within the federal government to deliver benefits to veterans and services to members of the armed forces. For those veterans that are transitioning to civilian life, in this private sector, we will also provide documentation, the documentation they require quickly to do that. We will work with the Red Seal Council to better recognize the skills and trades they used in CAF so that they can get work permits in regulated trades right across the country. We will work with polytechnics and colleges and universities and training centers to ensure there is recognition of the skills they've already acquired as members of the armed forces. For example, if you have experience, leadership skills through your work in the CAF, when you go to a college, you should not have to be there with 18-year-olds taking the same courses as they are on leadership skills. You are already a leader, or if you already have skills in repairing large machinery, you shouldn't have to redo that training. Your skills and everything you have done previously should be recognized in terms of permitting and certificates, so that you can move into the civilian economy more quickly. That also includes recognition of veteran service cards as government identification right across the country. We will also immediately create a national monument to the veterans of the Afghanistan mission, and we will also recognize Persian Gulf War veterans and recognize their service. After the lost Liberal decade, Canadian veterans cannot afford a fourth Liberal term, a lack of respect for them, and broken promises.
We'll respect our veterans, honor their service, and make their lives easier when they return home. We'll also cut their income tax by 15%. We'll take sales tax off new homes and incentivize municipality to cut home building taxes for a total savings of $100,000 on a home. We'll bring in the Canada First Economic Action Plan to unleash our economy, just as Conservatives did before. When we will bring home safe streets by locking up criminals with jail and not bail, shut down drug dens, and treat 50,000 people for addiction. A new Conservative government will bring the change that veterans and all Canadians need. We
will restore the promise of Canada by allowing everyone who works hard to have a great home and a great life on a safe street. We will do that by cutting taxes by 15%, eliminating GST on new homes, and incentivizing municipalities to accelerate housing construction. We will put criminals in jail and unleash our natural resources so that we can become more economically sovereign. That is how we will bring about real change for Canadians. Today, Mr. Carney is hiding again. He wants you to forget about the lost Liberal decade, the costs going up, taxes that are too high, our economy that's declining, and food that's out of control. But he cannot hide from the fact that Canadians want change, and only Conservatives will be in a position to bring that change. We will restore Canada's promise so that we have a great future for all Canadians.
So that everyone from everywhere who works hard can have a great life, a safe and affordable home on a nice street under our proud flag in honor of our great veterans. Canada first, veterans first. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to questions, and we're going to start with a question from the teleconference line.
Thanks, guys.
Our first question comes from the line of Raymond Fillion from TVA. Your line is open.
Merci. Bonjour, Monsieur Poilievre.
Hello,
Oui,
Mr.
bonjour.
Poilievre.
We
are about 2 weeks away from Election Day. And right now, the polls are showing the Liberals will win. There are even members of your party who are saying that a Liberal win is possible. Do you think that you can turn things around? And what will you do, or what will you focus on to change that trend? Change. Canadians want change. After the lost Liberal decade, where costs are going up and people can no longer buy food or have a home, we need a change. But it's no change if we have the same Liberals, the same Liberal gang, the same Liberal ministers, and the same Liberal MPs, the same Liberal promises that they broke over a decade. We need real change, and we are the only party that can bring that change. With a new Conservative government that will cut taxes, unleash our natural resources, strengthen public safety, and bring back jobs to Canada, to put Canada first for a change.
Well, what are we campaigning on? And the answer is change. After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, people lining up at food banks, unable to afford homes. We can't afford a fourth Liberal term. And make no mistake, this Liberal Party is the same Liberal Party of the last decade, the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal strategists, making the same Liberal promises that got us into this mess in the first place. And as for Mark Carney, he was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. He would not have done anything different. He was wrong on every single economic issue of our time. He was wrong to support the carbon tax, wrong to oppose pipelines, wrong to support money printing inflation. And he would do exactly the same thing if he and his Liberal team were re-elected. That's why he's in hiding today. He doesn't want to answer for the lost Liberal decade. He doesn't want to, he wants Canadians to forget that housing costs have doubled, that young people, for the first time in history, can't afford a place to live in Canada. Canadians know we need a change, and we won't get a change with a fourth Liberal term in power. We need a new change with a new government that will axe taxes, unleash home building and resource development to bring home our jobs and put Canada first for a change.
Thank you. We'll now take a question from the floor.
Morning, Sarah Ritchie with the Canadian Press. I want to ask you about Canada's medical assistance in dying laws. Will the Conservative government make any changes to the laws that exist in this country right now? And are you open to expanding them to include advanced directives?
Thank you for your question. People will continue to have the right to make that choice, the choice for themselves. We are not proposing to expand medical assistance in dying beyond the existing parameters. That said, we believe that we also need better health care so that people have all sorts of options. For example, we've announced that we're going to be bringing in a blue seal that will allow us to license the 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses who are already qualified but not able to practice. By having a blue seal that is based on the red seal we have for the licensed trades, we believe we can accelerate many of those qualified doctors to take a test, prove they're qualified up to our standards, and then get licensed to work in our hospitals, reducing the incredible wait times that we see right across our country. After the lost Liberal decade, there's something like 6 million Canadians who do not have a family doctor. Lineups at our hospitals are worse than ever, and we think that it's reasonable to expect that you should have a family doctor in an advanced country. And we have so many qualified doctors are not able to practice. The low-hanging fruit is to give them a path to licensure, and that's what we will do with the Blue Seal. Thank you.
S'il vous plaît.
Nous allons garder en place le droit aux gens
We
de
will
prendre leurs
retain
décisions.
the ability of people to make their own decision with respect to medical assistance in dying. We will not expand the program, but we will retain that right in terms of people making their own personal decision. Now, when it comes to healthcare, we need more physicians. We have 20,000 immigrant doctors who are unable to work in their field, and 2,000 nurses who cannot work in their field because they are immigrants and they don't have a permit. Obviously, that's a provincial area of jurisdiction, but at the provincial level, they have all agreed to the Red Seal program, and that's working. It's a national permit that's recognized by all the provinces and territories, and we can do the same thing when it comes to the medical professions. That's why we want to create a Blue Seal program and encourage the provinces to accept that so that we can accelerate the number of doctors and nurses working in the system.
Good morning. It's Brian Passafian with the Toronto Sun. I wanted to ask about Israel, and more specifically the hatred that Canadian Jews have faced since the October 7th attacks. Last week, Mr. Carney's comments on Israel sparked an angry response from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And the new video posted online this morning was a Liberal cabinet minister invoking the Israeli genocide myth while campaigning in a mosque. My question is the same one I'm hearing from Jewish voters I've spoken to. With the NDP and the Liberals making their stances known, how will the Conservative government deal with Canada's Israel policy, and what will you do to stop the near-weekly hate marches on Canadian streets?
Thank you. This is a very important question. The rampaging chaos that we see in our streets, the targeting of synagogues and Jewish schools with hate, vandalism, violence, fire bombings of synagogues, these things were unheard of 10 years ago. We've always had debates and disagreements about foreign issues in Canada, but those disagreements did not spill into violence on our streets. People left the violence abroad. That's why they come to this country, is to live in peace and in freedom, so that disagreements can play themselves out in debate, not in fire bombings and physical violence. The Jewish community feels understandably under siege as these hate marches and anti-Semitic outbursts have become an unfortunate part of Canadian life. And frankly, the Liberals have encouraged these divisions. We see what they do. They say one thing to one group and then exactly the opposite to another group. They turn Canadians against Canadians, and they've been doing it for 10 years. And what is the consequence? 251% increase in hate crimes. 251. Now, to be clear, we can't blame all of that on the October 7th attacks, because there was already more than 100% increase in hate crimes before those attacks occurred. This is the direct result of radical liberal policies and divisive rhetoric that has driven our people apart. We will end that. We will bring in tougher laws to target vandalism, hate marches that break laws, violent attacks based on ethnicity and religion. Anyone who's here on a visitor visa who carries out law breaking will be deported from this country, and there will be very serious jail time, and on top of that, fines for anyone who carries out anti-Semitic vandalism or property damage. We need to unite our people. We need to get back to the country we used to have with regards to bringing people together. Used to be that people would come from around the world. They live in peace. They might have different political opinions. They might even squabble about those opinions. But they didn't throw rocks at each other. They didn't firebomb each other's businesses. They didn't break glass. That wasn't how it was in Canada. We need to heal those wounds and bring our people together again so that everyone from every background feels safe. My closing message on this to Canada's Jewish community is you are not alone. You have friends. Canadians stand with you. You have the right to wear your Star of David, your kippah, and to have your mezuzah on your door. You should feel proud to be Jewish, and you should never have to hide your Jewishness in order to stay safe. And as your Prime Minister, I will fight for your safety, your security, and your acceptance every single day. Merci beaucoup.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, monsieur. C'est une très bonne question.
Thank you. That's a very good question. We have seen some major demonstrations and protests that have torn apart communities. We've seen violence targeting the Jewish community right across Canada, synagogues that are hit with terrorist attacks. Before the last 10 years, we didn't see that kind of chaos. This is new for Canada. Before this government started dividing our population, Canadians of all backgrounds were able to live together in peace. They left their problems and the violence at the door. But the radical policies of the Liberals have caused this kind of chaos in our streets. I will introduce laws that will jail people who engage in violence and target ethnic and religious communities. We will introduce huge penalties for property crimes and remove from Canada any visitors who break Canadian laws when they're here. And finally, as Prime Minister, I will unite people. Rather than saying one thing in one community and the opposite in another to divide and conquer, I will unite Canadians, unite our people right across the country. And finally, I have a message for the Jewish community. We are with you. We stand with you. We know that this is a very difficult time here in Canada, but things will change. We will bring back peace and the promise of Canada so that you can feel safe and accepted as Canadians. Thank you.
We will now go to the final question.
Bonjour, Julien Paquette avec Le Droit. Je voulais savoir,
Yes, you have talked about access to services for veterans today. But when your party was in power, there were service centers that were shut down, veteran service centers. Was that a mistake? Well, when I speak to veterans, they don't talk about that at all. They talk about their service, the services they need in order to survive, access to jobs in the public service, recognition of their skills, benefits being available as soon as they are released from the armed forces. Those are the services they need now, and that's exactly what we will deliver. That's real change, because after the lost Liberal decade, we cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. That would be a disaster for veterans. We need a change to put our veterans first for a change.
What I hear from veterans is they want services for themselves and their families. They want direct services, not more bureaucracy. I have not encountered a single veteran that says that he needs more bureaucracy. What they're saying is actually they need less bureaucracy so that they can actually get their benefits and get on with their lives. What they need is to have immediate benefits day one of their departure. They need to have their disability claims paid out if they are not treated within 16 weeks. They need their skills recognized so that they can get higher paying jobs. And when they get those jobs, they need to keep their paychecks rather than having them all clawed back. Those are the frontline benefits that veterans are interested in. Liberals are interested in more bureaucracy. That's all they ever do. Their solution to every problem is we need more bureaucracy. They want more they say on housing, they're going to build more bureaucracy instead of building more homes. They say on, you know, the price of food, what we need is a new government bureaucracy for that, rather than lowering the tax burden on the farmers and truckers who actually bring us our food. So our focus is on delivering frontline benefits and services without delay to our veterans. They're the ones who are owed this service, and we will deliver that to them. We'll bring a bright new future and a change to put veterans first.
Thank you. This concludes today's press conference. Thank you.
We've been taking you live to Ottawa, where the Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre has been making a campaign announcement on funding for veterans and also fielding some questions from reporters. Listening from Ottawa as well is CBC's Julia Wong. She joins us once again. So, Julia, quite a lengthy statement coming from the leader of the Conservative Party. What stood out for you?
Yeah, so first I'll touch upon that announcement that Poilievre made, where he says a Conservative government will support veterans, give them the support that they deserve, and that they deserve a government that fights for them. So he says that his government, if they were to be elected, would automatically approve disability benefit applications if they're not processed within 16 weeks, saying that he's trying to get rid, essentially, of some red tape. He also says that there would be an education and training benefit available to veterans after they are released. And he also noted that he wants to double the hiring target of veterans at Veterans Affairs and remove the clawback of military pensions for veterans who get jobs, so that they don't lose their pension if they start new employment, but rather that they get their pension and then they get the income from their new job. But there were a few things that also stuck out at me from the Q&A with media. One in particular, where he was asked about Mark Carney, and he said that Carney is hiding today. Now, there are no Liberal events, so we won't see the Liberal leader out and about. And Poilievre was making some jabs, pointing that Carney is hiding, that he doesn't want to be out there answering questions. And this is very similar to some comments that we heard earlier today from the leader of the Bloc Québécois. Also, Poilievre was asked specifically about the polls and how they appear to show that there is lower support for the Conservatives and what he would do to change that. Now, Poilievre says that his main focus is on what Canadians want, which he says is change. So he's pointed to things such as high food costs. He's pointing to things like how there is high housing costs, and saying that these are the things that he would fight for Canadians, and that if they were to elect him, that they will see those changes in things that are hurting them and that is hurting their wallets. Now, in particular, one of the last few questions that was asked to Poilievre dealt with a video that appears to be circulating on social media, and it shows a Liberal candidate, Adam Van Koeverden, saying that he believes what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. And Poilievre was asked about that and how a Conservative government would deal with Canada's Israel policy, how essentially he would stop anti-Semitism. Now, Poilievre didn't dive too much into this particular video. We know that Mark Carney himself has not used that word in reference to Gaza, that he hasn't called it a genocide, but some Liberal candidates, especially when they were MPs, that they have. And so Poilievre is saying that he would get tough when it comes to anti-Semitism, that there would be tougher laws to target vandalism, that there would be serious jail time for those who are dealing in anti-Semitism, that there'd be fines for people who carry out anti-Semitic violence. And he said to Canada's Jewish community that Canada is with you, that Canada stands with you. So this is very much a live topic, and especially with this video that's circulating on social media.
CBC's Julia Wong in Ottawa. Thanks so much, Julia.